Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and yesterday the Overwatch team gave us a more in-depth look of what's to come with Invasion, aka Season 6. And look, I'll be honest, the thing that I was most excited about from yesterday's livestream was the remake for Mario RPG, which wasn't even from the Invasion livestream, it was from the Nintendo Direct. That just kinda goes to show how sleeper this livestream was. But there was one thing that awoke me from my slumber, and it was the brand new core game mode called Flashpoint. Now, we've already known Flashpoint was coming in Season 6, however, we didn't really know how it worked or how it was gonna play. And today, what we're gonna be doing is giving an in-depth look of how Flashpoint is gonna play, because I truly do believe, this is surprisingly one of the few things that have gotten me super excited about the future for Overwatch 2, which is sad when you think about it, because the whole point of Overwatch 2 was PvE. Okay, Flashpoint, you're up, man. You better save this freaking game. So getting into Flashpoint, like I mentioned before, this is going to be a new core game mode that's going to be in rotation alongside Push, Hybrid, Payload, and Control maps in Quick Play and Competitive. And they're going to be launching with 2 maps in Season 6, Servasa, which is a map that takes place in India, and New Junk City, which obviously you can tell by the name, takes place in the outskirts of Junkertown. And the objective of Flashpoint is very similar to Control right now in Overwatch 2, times 6, quite literally, where you have to go and fight the enemy for a specific point on a map, and the more time that you control that point, you're gonna gain percentage, just like in Control. And the objective here is that you gotta get that percentage to 100%, and once you do, you gain 1 control point, but then the control point is gonna switch to a different part of the map, and then you do it all over again. First team to 3 capture points wins the whole entire game. Like I mentioned before, this is very similar to Control in Overwatch 2 based on how it's structured, but how it actually functions is just like Hardpoint from Call of Duty or King of the Hill from like Halo 3, where the point or the objective is constantly switching throughout the map. But unlike Hardpoint or King of the Hill, where the point is always switching no matter what percentage you have, Flashpoint, someone has to get to 100% before that point is going to move to a different part of the map, whether it's your team or the enemy team. So each team can get it to 99%, but it's going to stay at that specific part of the map until somebody gets 100%. Once they do, then the point will switch. But now that you know how the game mode works, we gotta talk about how the maps work, because these are gonna be some of the most interesting built maps of all time, not only based on structures, but more importantly, based on respawn. So when looking at the 2 maps launching with Flashpoint, Servasa and Junker City, while they're 2 polar opposites aesthetically, they are the same when it comes to the structure of the map, which they are naming a quasi-symmetrical map. Do not ask me how to spell that. And while I can try to use my words to explain how quasi-symmetrical maps work and how Flashpoint works, I think it'll just be better if I draw it out for you. So let's use Junker City for an example, where both teams are going to spawn on the opposite ends of the map, and then there's going to be a point in the middle of the map, at least at the beginning of the match. Now, both teams are going to have this even dogfight for that first point, and are going to continuously spawn from the same spawn points, at least when the first point is active in the middle of the map. But it's after a team gets 100% from that middle of the map is when the point is going to change to a different part of the quasi-symmetrical map. And using your context clues when it comes to the word quasi-symmetrical, there's going to be 4 even spots throughout the map. But when that point changes from the middle to a different corner of the map, how are the spawns going to work? Because if we just make assumptions here, let's say that one team spawns on the left side of the map, another team spawns on the right side of the map, and if you capture the point and the point moves to the top left, well, then you would make the assumption, the safe assumption, that the left side team would have the advantage because they have to travel less distance to get to that point, whereas the right side team basically has double the distance to get to that point. And when watching the live stream and watching the gameplay, I couldn't really tell exactly how the spawns worked, but I do have one of 2 ways that they probably are gonna work. The first way that seems the most logical, at least when it comes to making spawn points function a little bit more fairly, is that whoever wins the first point in the middle, let's say the left team side, that means the right team side is gonna get the spawn advantage for the next point. So more than likely the points will move to the top right of the map or the bottom right of the map, because that's the closest to the right side team spawn, because they're already down 1 point. If the left side team truly is better than the right side team, it shouldn't matter if the enemy team has less time to travel to the point, because they are just better players and they're less likely to die. It's very similar to how 2CP works, where the first point was in favor for the attacking team, where the second point was in favor of the defending team. But the second option for how the spawns could work is, let's say the first point in the middle changes to the top left. They're also going to change the spawn point of the left side team to say somewhere on the bottom left side, making it so that both teams are continuously having the same travel distance no matter who's winning or losing. Now, I do think this might be a little less likely because that means you have to make 2 additional spawn rooms for each team, both the left side and the right side team, so that they're continuously having the same travel distance, so that if it's in the top left, they're going to move the left side team to the bottom left of the map. Like I said, it's very confusing when it comes to travel distance and the possibility of that, whereas if they went the advantage route, they just have to make 1 spawn room for each team on the left and right side of the map, and then they're going to move the point to the side that is losing the game so that they have travel distance advantage. Again, it's just based on assumptions of how the spawns are going to work, based on the quasi-symmetrical design of the map, and also making the assumption that there's going to be 5 points for you to capture when there could possibly be like 9, where 1 point could be in the top middle, on the middle right, on the middle left, and then the bottom middle. But now that we know how the game mode and the map's structured, we have to talk about how like the point capture system works, because you might see this and see, oh my god, there is a maximum of 5 points for you to capture. If it's just like Control, that's gonna take like 30 minutes, and luckily the percentage or the capture time is increased to try to speed up the game. Now you guys know how Control works, at least when it comes to timing. It takes 30 seconds for a point to unlock, and then for every 1%, it takes 1.2 seconds, meaning that it takes 120 seconds to get to 100%, assuming that there's no like contesting or overtime. But here in Flashpoint, it takes about 60% of the time to get to 100% compared to a Control map. So it takes roughly about 72 seconds to get to 100% before you capture that point. So just doing basic math here, if you win all 3 rounds in a Control game, and assuming that both teams just did 100% with no contesting and no overtime, it would take 360 seconds to get to 100%. Now in Flashpoint, if you had the max 5 points to capture, it would take, oh hey, look at that, 360 seconds to get to 100% for each of those capture points. When it comes to just the pure capture rate, it's basically the exact same time frame. So I don't think we'll have another 2 CP type game mode, or in this case, a 3 CP type game mode where it's gonna take like 30, 40, 50 minutes to just get 1 game. No, there's gonna be a strict time frame, and it could go really fast, assuming that one team could just steamroll the enemy team, which probably will happen because this is Overwatch 2, or if both teams are evenly matched, then it'll go a few extra minutes longer. But the last thing that we can cutely talk about is the meta. What heroes would be good in Flashpoint? Because in my humble opinion, you think that fast heroes would be really good for Flashpoint because of the travel distance to try to get to the point as quick as possible, but if I'm gonna be straight up real with y'all, I think a bunker comp will be a whole lot better. Playing Sigma, playing Ramatra, playing Baptiste, playing Bastion even, I think will be the way to go, because you want to stand your ground in a point. I mean, you just think of a Control map right now, and being able to get as much percentage as possible, well, that's more favorable to a more bunker style comp, because you're all huddled around the point, because, well, that is where the objective is at, whereas fast heroes like Tracer and Sombra and Genji, I mean, yeah, they can be good too, assuming that you're good. I think that's what's so beautiful about Overwatch, is that I don't really think a map truly heavily dictates the meta as one might assume, unless you're like in GM and whatnot, where yeah, if there's more elevated maps or ledges, you want to play someone like Winston Diva, whereas someone like Sigma and Reinhardt, they can't get to it. But when it comes for a majority of players, if you're good with the hero, that is what matters the most. But if I have to make the assumption, I think a bunker style comp will be more favorable here, because you're going to be swapping to a point and you're going to want to stay at that point. You don't want to be rushing back and forth like with these fast heroes that can easily die. But guys, that's everything that you need to know about Flashpoint, and honestly, I'm so excited for this mode because I love Control, I loved Hardpoint in Call of Duty, and now combine the two, it's just going to be a match made in heaven. But until August 10th, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching more Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.